We are in a downward spiral in this committee, it seems to me, in which the Republican majority, when you have the majority, takes liberties with the traditional norms and procedures of the committee. And then when the shoe is on the other foot and we follow the new rule established by the Republicans, there is outrage that we have done this. And I say this in the context of this committee unilaterally yielding to the executive branch our circuit court blue slip. The Seventh Circuit judge is coming without a blue slip from one of the Wisconsin senators. We have seats on circuit courts that are associated with our states, and customarily, for years, for decades, senators had the ability to make recommendations to the president on those circuit court nominees. The Republican majority decided to end that, and when we followed on, we heard bitter objections from Republican senators when we took the same step. So now we're back again, and we have a Seventh Circuit nominee associated with the state of Wisconsin, with the Wisconsin senator being completely rolled in that matter. This is one of many instances of the degradation of this committee, but I think that just as a general proposition, when senators are handing back to the executive branch a power as significant as a blue slip on a circuit court nominee, and with respect to the recent Delaware nominee, there's no longer even necessarily a real connection to the state, let alone an approval by the state senator. It, to me, makes no sense that we as a body would throw that power away. And I make this point now on this person because sooner or later, the winds will shift and the gavel will shift. And I want to make it loud and clear that if you really want to go back to a time when senators' input is respected on circuit court nominees at the White House, this makes that.
This may look like a routine dispute over judicial nominations, but it's actually a struggle over whether the Senate still controls its own constitutional authority. What's really being tested here is whether power belongs to elected lawmakers or quietly shifts to the executive branch through political shortcuts. This raises broader questions about how judicial independence, federal balance, and democratic accountability survive when long-standing safeguards are discarded. In this video, we'll break down how the blue slip fight reveals a deeper collapse in how the confirmation system is supposed to work.
Okay, we'll now turn to.
Things going wrong with the mic. Is that? Oh, there. Back on again. My light is just on. I think you can hear me. I just wanted to be recognized on the Seventh Circuit nominee, and I wanted to confirm with the chairman that we have an understanding that comments relating to the judges will be heard before we vote on them, but that other comments we have offered you the courtesy of postponing until after the votes, and that the committee will remain open so that we can make our comments at that time. Is that correct?
Speak on the judge you want to speak on.
And the other part is correct as well?
And you want to speak.
Yep. Very quickly today, we're going to vote on
Well,
Brian.
here, I called on Whitehouse.
Oh, I'm
and then
sorry.
I'll
Go
get
ahead.
you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just on the Seventh Circuit nominee, we are in a downward spiral in this committee, it seems to me, in which the Republican majority, when you have the majority, takes liberties with the traditional norms and procedures of the committee. And then when the shoe is on the other foot and we follow the new rule established by the Republicans, there is outrage that we have done this. And I say this in the context of this committee unilaterally yielding to the executive branch our circuit court blue slip. The Seventh Circuit judge is coming without a blue slip from one of the Wisconsin senators. We have seats on circuit courts that are associated with our states, and customarily, for years, for decades, senators had the ability to make recommendations to the president on those circuit court nominees. The Republican majority decided to end that, and when we followed on, we heard bitter objections from Republican senators when we took the same step. So now we're back again, and we have a Seventh Circuit nominee associated with the state of Wisconsin, with the Wisconsin senator being completely rolled in that matter. This is one of many instances of the degradation of this committee. But I think that just as a general proposition, when senators are handing back to the executive branch a power as significant as a blue slip on a circuit court nominee, and with respect to the recent Delaware nominee, there's no longer even necessarily a real connection to the state, let alone an approval by the state senator. It, to me, makes no sense that we as a body would throw that power away. And I make this point now on this person because sooner or later, the winds will shift and the gavel will shift. And I want to make it loud and clear that if you really want to go back to a time when senators' input is respected on circuit court nominees at the White House, this makes that nearly impossible.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
I'm going to call on the ranking.
I would like to respond to that and
You'll get
correct
your
the
chance.
record
Can we vote
of what Mr. Whitehouse has said, because this is something under President Biden that happened to Senator Hagerty and me not once but twice. And you're correct that there is not consultation, and I know you don't like that now. And I see that Senator Durbin's staff is trying to inform him, but I will remind them, we corrected the record when this occurred and told you all you needed to stop pushing forward these judges without working with us. So shoes on the other foot.
I plead with my Republican colleagues, if we want to get these nominations out, I said I would stay afterwards to hear anything you wanted to say. Senator Durbin.
I will be brief. I want to associate myself with remarks of Senator Whitehouse on the blue slip. When I chaired the committee, I did my best to honor the blue slip, and I was criticized on the left. Now that the worms have turned, or whatever you want to say, I'm being criticized on the right. We need more blue slip, they say. I just have to say it should apply in both circumstances.
Now the remarks by Senator Graham.
Very quickly, today we're going to vote on Brian Sterling to be the U.S. Attorney for the District of South Carolina. I know Brian for a long time. He graduated from the University of South Carolina School of Law. He was Nikki Haley's Chief of Staff. He was Assistant Attorney General in our state and spent 12 years in charge of the Department of Corrections, and he's in an interim status. And I think he's just a really great choice, and urge our members to vote for him if you can.
Okay, we got 25 minutes to get out these nominations, so well, the clerk will call the roll on Rebecca Tableson.
Aye.
In that moment, when Senator Sheldon Whitehouse leaned into the microphone and declared that the Senate Judiciary Committee was in a downward spiral, something deeper than a procedural dispute cracked open before the country. He wasn't just talking about a blue slip or a single judicial nominee. He was talking about a system that once ran on restraint, mutual respect, and institutional memory, now grinding forward on raw power and political impatience. Whitehouse warned that when one party tears down the rules to suit the moment, it cannot pretend to be shocked when those same rules are later used against it. And as his words echoed through the chamber, they revealed a truth that has been quietly shaping Washington for years. The traditions that once protected fairness are being traded away for speed and control. This wasn't a theatrical outburst. It was a confession of where American governance stands. The blue slip, a simple piece of paper that allowed home state senators to weigh in on circuit court judges, was once a symbol of balance between the White House and the Senate. It was a reminder that lifetime appointments should not be rushed through without local accountability. But Whitehouse described how that tradition was cast aside when it became inconvenient. And now, as he watched a Seventh Circuit nominee advance without the approval of a Wisconsin senator, he saw the cost of that decision. A safeguard designed to slow power had been discarded, and with it, a layer of democratic legitimacy. Then came the response from Senator Marsha Blackburn, cutting through the room with a blunt phrase, "shoes on the other foot." Her words were not angry. They were cold, deliberate, and unsympathetic. She reminded the committee that under President Biden, she and Senator Hagerty were ignored more than once when nominees moved forward without consultation. When the same disregard is now felt by others, she made clear there would be no pity. In that exchange, two realities collided. One side warned about institutional decay. The other pointed out that this decay did not begin today. What this moment exposes is not just a fight between senators. It is a mirror held up to a system that has normalized rule bending as strategy. Each party, when in power, justifies breaking precedent in the name of progress. Each side insists it is correcting past wrongs. And yet, with every exception, the structure weakens. Whitehouse spoke of how giving up the Senate's role in shaping circuit court nominees hands enormous power to the executive branch. Blackburn countered that the executive branch has already been doing just that, regardless of which party holds the gavel. Between them sits the truth. No one is really guarding the institution anymore. They are guarding their turn. Even Chairman Durbin, who once prided himself on honoring the blue slip tradition, acknowledged the whiplash of modern politics. When he tried to respect the rule, he was attacked by one side. When the rule was loosened, he was attacked by the other. His brief statement captured the exhaustion of a Senate trapped between ideals and the reality of partisan warfare. The same principle, he said, should apply in both circumstances. But in Washington today, consistency is often the first casualty. And while this procedural storm unfolded, nominations moved forward. Brian Sterling's name was called, his resume praised, and his confirmation urged. Life-altering decisions for courts and prosecutors marched on, even as the very rules governing those decisions were being questioned in real time. It was a reminder that behind every abstract debate about norms are real appointments, real judges, and real consequences for the country. This is how power now operates in Washington, slowly at first, then all at once. A tradition is set aside. A precedent is redefined. The justification is always that the other side did it first. But over time, the result is the same. The Senate becomes less of a deliberative body and more of a conveyor belt for whoever holds the majority. Whitehouse warned that when the winds shift, as they always do, the same tactics will be used in reverse. Blackburn accepted that reality without apology. That is the quiet tragedy of this era. The long-term health of the institution is no longer the priority. Winning the next vote is. This exchange about a blue slip might sound small to some viewers, but in the architecture of American government, it is a load-bearing beam. It represents the idea that no single branch and no single party should have unchecked control over the courts. When that beam cracks, the structure above it becomes unstable. And once instability becomes normal, citizens begin to lose faith, not just in politicians, but in the system itself. What we witnessed in that hearing was not chaos. It was something more unsettling: normalization. Normalization of cutting corners, normalization of shrugging when the rules no longer apply. Normalization of saying, that's just how it is now. Whitehouse called it degradation. Blackburn called it consequence. But to the American people, it should look like a warning. Because when institutions stop protecting their own integrity, they stop protecting the people they serve. Courts become political prizes. Laws become temporary. And justice becomes something that shifts with the balance of power. That is not how a republic is meant to function. It is how trust erodes, piece by piece, until nothing solid is left. This is why moments like this matter, not because of who scored a point, but because of what was revealed. A Senate that once prided itself on being the world's greatest deliberative body now struggles to agree on the meaning of its own traditions. A process meant to ensure fairness has become a battlefield for leverage. And in that fight, the American public is rarely the one being defended. So as the gavel moves and the nominations advance, remember what was said in that room. Remember that power, once surrendered, is rarely given back. Remember that norms only survive when leaders choose to honor them, even when it costs them something. And remember that the health of American democracy depends not on who is in charge today, but on whether the system still works tomorrow. If you believe these moments deserve to be seen, understood, and held to account, stand with us. Subscribe to Liberty Report USA and support our work to expose the truth behind the politics that shape your future.